call you out. I'm gonna dance a little bit later. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We have an amazing speaker that's about to hit the stage. He is our keynote speaker. If you don't know Jason Redman, I really don't know what else to say. He is an American hero. He spent 21 years in the Navy SEALs. He's 10 years as a SEALs officer, leading teams in combat and operations throughout Iraq and Afghanistan. He's going to be speaking on the tenets of success. Everyone, please, huge, loud, warm welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for your courage, your sacrifice. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
From New York, how are we doing today? I want everybody to stand up for a minute. I want everybody to stand up. We're going to do something here. Are you ready? Everybody tell me you're going to do it. You have to turn to the person next to you and give them a hug and say, you're awesome. Hey, guys. Don't hold too long. Don't hold too long. All right, everybody sit down. Yeah. Why do I start off like that? I want to tell you something. Words matter. We're going to talk about words today and the power of words and the power of positivity. How did I learn some of those things? Well, I learned those things in the SEAL teams. How many of you came here today because you're like, I came here to be a Navy SEAL? Well, if none of you came here today to be a Navy SEAL, what the hell do I have to offer? Really? What am I going to contribute to you if you're not leaving here to go be a Navy SEAL? A lot. To be honest, the things that I learned in the SEAL teams had really nothing to do with this and everything to do with this. And today you have amazing people who are going to talk to you about building your body. And I will tell you the most powerful thing you will ever build is your mind. And that is the biggest thing we're going to talk about today. But in order to do that, we need to start off. I need to establish a little bit of credibility. I mean, obviously, if someone is offering you advice, they need a little credibility to back it up. How's that sound? All right, let's do this. So, I finished a 21-year military career as a Navy SEAL leader. I failed. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I failed as a young SEAL leader and almost got myself kicked out, but I earned back the respect of my teammates. I earned the U.S. Army Ranger tab. Any Army members in the room? Any Rangers? Who is Sergeant? Yeah, let's go Army. I served with honor in combat. I was shot 8 times and endured over 40 surgeries to get put back together. I graduated summa cum laude from Old Dominion University. Any Monarchs in the house? No. I summited Mount Rainier with pneumonia and a collapsed lung only 3 years after I was wounded. I launched and ran a successful nonprofit organization that raised over $3 million and helped thousands of wounded warriors. I launched a speaking company, Soft Spoken, that has now done 675 speaking engagements and has brought in over $4 million in speaking. I created Eagle Rise Speakers Bureau. I did an amazing TEDx talk. I have written 3 successful books, one a New York Times bestseller, and I have book number 4, a relationship book, coming out in February with my wife. I've stayed married for 23 years. Through combat, crisis, chaos, I've raised 3 relationships. In the special operations community that statistically has a 90% divorce rate. I created a short-term rental company and I purchased 5 ski condos that now go through that company. I bought a $3 million building and launched a flex office space and event center out of that building and continue to grow that right now. I bought that last year. And I have an action figure. So we established a little bit of credibility on why I speak on the things that I speak on. But I think what's interesting is let's talk about who I'm not. How's that sound? I am not a famous doctor. Here in this building, there are some incredible doctors, like world-renowned doctors who can physically and physiologically make you amazingly better. I am not a New Yorker. I'm sorry. I have never been on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. There are quite a few people strutting around here that have been on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. I am not an astronaut. There are several Navy SEALs who are astronauts. As a matter of fact, there is our most recent SEAL astronaut by the name of Johnny Kim. You should look him up. Johnny is an amazing human being, served with the West Coast SEAL team, served part of Task Force Bruiser with Jocko Willink, earned a Civil Star on the battlefield as a medic, decided that wasn't quite enough. He then went to Harvard and became a medical doctor, and then I guess that wasn't enough. Then he decided to become an astronaut. Like, thanks, Johnny. Yeah, I feel like I've never done anything in my life. There is no Body by Jay. That show does not exist. I don't have 1 million followers. I am not worth $100 million yet. I don't have a national fitness company. I never served as a Tier 1 SEAL operator. I don't have a national franchise. I am not a world famous jiu-jitsu expert. You may notice there's someone here who has the last name of Gracie. Pretty impressive. I was not a United States Marine, which my Marine friends always like to remind me of. So, although I can eat a box of crayons with the best of them. Superheroes from, there's a typo here, superheroes from the Marvel Universe do not call me to train them. Not once have they ever called me. I have never won the Mr. Olympia contest or medaled in the Olympics. I have never been on MTV. Can you see it? I was not a Navy SEAL admiral. I am not a performance coach for college or professional athletes. I never played college or professional sports. I don't have an OnlyFans account. I'm really looking at me. I don't have one. And I did not shoot Osama bin Laden. Although it seems like every time we turn around, there's another SEAL that's like, I shot him too. Yeah. Why do I tell you all that? If you listen to the beginning slide where I'm like, hey, credibility, it would be easy to say, wow, there's a lot of success there. Would you agree? Yes, and I'm very fortunate, I'm thankful and blessed to have achieved some success. But the interesting thing in this life, if you never saw that slide, you never saw the first slide, and all of a sudden, all you saw was the second slide. And you said, I don't know who Jason Redman is. He's just this guy who, he's never done all these things. How quickly do we suddenly go, wow, what a failure. You know? It's unfortunate that is the life we are living in today. We all have OCD, obsessive comparison disorder. And it's so easy in this life to forget about our successes and start to compare ourselves with others and start thinking about, well, I haven't done that, so I must be a failure. I haven't done that, so I don't have the ability to do this. We are all guilty. We all scroll through social media and start to have those doubts, those fears. Even me, I'm guilty. Like, I pull out my phone and I bust out Instagram and I'm like, Jocko Willink? Jocko's got a new product? And it's at Walmart? Jocko tampons? What? Extreme bleed? What? David Goggins swam across the Atlantic in 2 hours? And he had sex with a great white shark? I've never had sex with a great white shark. Yeah, guys, we all do it. And then we start to question ourselves. We start to say, well, if I haven't done that, am I doing the right thing? I mean, am I qualified to be out there and to be a leader, to be a coach, to be able to make an impact? Here the reality is, guys, all of us in this life as humans, we're all a little broken. That's the reality, including me. All of us at times, we struggle with laziness, doubt, despair, depression, insecurity, all of it, uncertainty. It's part of being human. 98% of the people that walk on this planet struggle with this. We're all a little broken. You don't want to know what the difference is? 18% of us are able to drive forward despite those doubts, despite those fears, despite that uncertainty. Now, many of you who are math people are like, he said 98%. What about the other 2%? Well, 2% of people on this planet, they don't have any doubts or fears. They think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. They'll look around this room, in this building, in this city, and they'll be like, yep, I'm the best motherfucker on this planet right now. Trust me, I know. We have quite a few of them in the SEAL teams. Guys, I tell you all that because our ability to drive forward and be successful is based on your ability to believe in yourself and drive forward. to get away from comparing and start to look inward on what are your gifts, your traits, despite being broken. And here's the problem. So often, so many levels of trauma play into this. Like, you know, how you grew up. Did you come in the streets? Did you come from a poor family? Did you come from a good family, but it was broken internally, and maybe there was emotional damage? I'll share with you one of the struggles I've had my whole life. I'm not the biggest guy. And my whole life, my dad told me, you're too small. You're too small. I heard it my whole life. Hey, Dad, I want to do this. No, you're too small. In the SEAL teams, I would hear it. I meet people now, and it's funny, they'll size me up, and they'll be like, huh, you were a SEAL? I thought you'd be bigger. And it really hurts when women say that, you know? Damn, don't say that to a dude, you know? I mean, you know, maybe some of you seen it.
Too short for a stormtrooper?
Huh? All of us are broken, guys. The reason I tell you that is because there is one individual who has the ability to believe in yourself and can continue to drive forward. We go back to the math. It's you. 98% of people struggle with this. 18% drive forward. You have the ability to drive within that 18%. 80% of people on this planet buy into their brokenness and never drive forward to follow their hopes and goals and dreams. If I had listened to everybody who ever told me I was too small, I was too this, you know, you can't be a good leader, you can't be this, you can't be that, I would never be on this stage. I am no different from any of you. You're broken, I'm broken, the majority of people on this planet are broken. You have the ability to make a difference and impact in your life. It starts with you. So now many of you are probably asking yourself, okay, great, Jay, how do we do this? We all have doubts, we all have fears. We all look into the uncertainty and deal with the insecurity. Well, how do we overcome that? Guys, without fear and doubt and insecurity and uncertainty, there can be no courage. That is the definition of the word. Courage doesn't exist unless there's fear or doubt or uncertainty. And it's your belief in yourself and your willingness to drive forward that enables your success. That is all that's enabled my success. Never once in my life did any of that ever go away. Even to this day, I still have those doubts and fears and scroll through social media and whatever it is. And then I say, I'm still going to believe in myself. I'm still going to drive forward. There was a little bit of that when I left to go to SEAL training. But I will tell you what, SEAL training taught me everything I needed. And there were 3 specific tenets that were reinforced that every day in my life I go back to. And I want to share them with you today. Is that okay? Yes. Now, we already established at the beginning that none of you came here to be a Navy SEAL, so we're going to... And instead, what we're going to talk about today is the tenets of your success. But we're going to do a little drill. So I'm going to say, Navy SEALs do this, and you guys are going to yell back to me, I do this. Right? How's that sound? All right. Navy SEAls do hard things. I love it. Okay, you guys are on to this. Why? We talked about it at the beginning. Words matter. How often have you said, I'm not good at this? I'll never be good at this. I'm never going to be able to do this lift. I'm never going to be able to do this run. For years, I used to say I'm a terrible golfer. You know when my golf game finally got better? When I finally said, I am a good golfer. I am a good leader. When you turn to that person next to you and you said, you're awesome, that's powerful. What's even more powerful is when you say, I'm awesome. Navy SEALs overcome.
I overcome.
You know, that was pretty weak. It's like really weak. We're going to try that one more time. Navy SEALs overcome.
I overcome.
Guys, here's the deal. This life is hard. To struggle is human. We're all going to have struggles. We're all going to encounter adversity. Those doubts, those fears, they start to pile up, and then suddenly we're afraid and we don't drive forward in our life. Embracing this idea that you have the ability to overcome is one of the most powerful things you have. SEAL training is built around this principle. It is an all-volunteer program where young men show up and they go through some of the most arduous training in the entire United States military. Many consider it to be some of the most arduous training on planet Earth. And at any time, You can decide you no longer want to be there by ringing that bell. And when I talk to young men about training, I tell them, whatever you do, don't ring the bell. You are selecting yourself out of training. There are so many things we can't control. So many external factors in this life are beyond our control. But the one thing you have control of is you. Your ability to continue to drive forward. Your ability to continue to overcome. I meet so many people who quit in this life, not because they actually got to the problem, not because they got to the adversity, merely because they didn't even believe in themselves before they ever started. In SEAL training, one of the hardest blocks of training, or one of the hardest weeks of training is called Hell Week. Hell Week is notorious. 80% of the class will quit during Hell Week. It is brutally hard, but you know what I've come to find as I move forward through life? Every human will go through Hell Week at some point in their life. Some of you may be in Hell Week right now. I have been through Navy SEAL training. When I went to Ranger School, I got myself in trouble. I was going through mental Hell Week, dealing with the doubts and fears, and oh my God, how do I overcome this failure in a community that doesn't tolerate failure? Severely wounded, I went through medical Hell Week. Right now, I told you about buying that building. It is the biggest business lift I've ever done. I cannot tell you, my wife and I, every single month, high-five each other, and we're like, oh my God, we made payroll and the mortgage again this month. Let's figure out how to do it again next month. Like, I'm going through business Hell Week. It is this mindset, though. Never once do I go, I don't know if I can do this. We go, we're going to figure it out. We overcome. In special operations, we talk about the point of attack. The point of attack is the X. It is where individuals are shot, blown up, sniper attack, IED. I endured a vicious enemy ambush that I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute. And I found what it's like to be on the X. But what I've come to discover is every human on this planet will find themselves on that X. You will be overwhelmed by the bullets and bombs of life. And it could be something as small as the ending of a relationship. It could be personal or professional failure. It could be illness or injury to you or someone you love. It could be sexual trauma to you or someone you love. It could be the loss of a loved one, or one of the biggest life ambushes I've seen is the loss of a child. But when you have this mindset that I overcome, when you find yourself on that X and you're totally overwhelmed, we have a saying, you get off the X. Once again, it is a belief in you. It is a willingness to get up no matter what. It doesn't mean you're going to fix what's broken. It doesn't mean you're going to find what's lost. All it means is no matter what, I'm going to continue to drive forward. I will never quit on life. I will just get up and go. It is the single biggest link to my success, guys. I'm not that smart. I'm not that pretty. I didn't get shot in the face to look pretty. Through a lot of plastic surgery. That is the single greatest factor. Navy SEALs lead always.
I lead always.
No, let's try again. Navy SEALs lead always.
I lead always.
Do you? Becomes a big question. So many people think that leadership is our ability to lead other people. They get that confused. And they're so focused. I did this when I was a young leader. I was so focused on my ability to influence other people to drive forward that I lost sight of what the most important aspect of leadership is. Anybody know what it is? You doing the work, but more importantly, you, yourself, your ability to lead yourself. And to always lead yourself, to set goals and go after those goals, to create structure and discipline in your life. You will never be able to lead anyone, not your family, not a team, not a business, if you can't effectively lead yourself. And that was my biggest mistake as a young leader. And from that point forward, I realized that it didn't matter what you had going on in your life. It didn't matter what problems or adversity you were facing. If you had the ability to lead yourself, it's the most powerful thing. There is a saying in the SEAL ethos, in the absence of leadership, I will step up and lead. And I mean, so many people, when something bad happens in their life, or their life gets off course, they're like sitting there on the X, feeling sorry for themselves, and they're waiting for someone to come save them. No one's coming. You have to lead yourself. You have to get up and drive forward. It's the most critical thing. September 13, 2007, my team and I went after a high-value al-Qaeda leader outside of Fallujah, Iraq, and I was shot 8 times by a machine gun. Doctors said it was a miracle I survived. Across the body, 2 rounds in the elbow, off my weapon, helmet, night vision tube shot off, and then I caught a round in the face that blew out most of the right side of my face. Miraculously, I survived. And I found myself laying in a hospital bed in Bethesda, Maryland, waking up after several days in and out of consciousness, being flown back to the United States with doctors inundating me with bad news. Lieutenant, your elbow is totally destroyed. You have no use in your left hand. We're thinking about amputating your arm above the elbow. I was wired shut. I couldn't speak. I only had tubes coming out of my face. I'm in ICU connected to all these tubes and devices. I'm wired shut. I'm trached. They're feeding me through a stomach tube. I had lost so much blood and I was so weak that I needed nurses to help me go to the bathroom. It was humbling. And I remember thinking to myself, so my special operations career is over. I'm going to be forever disfigured, and I'm going to be permanently disabled. And about that same time, there were some people that had come into the room that had visited, and then a nurse came in. And they stepped off to the side, and they were having a conversation while the nurse was working on me. And I could overhear bits and pieces of their conversation. And they were talking about what a shame, what a pity. We send these young men and women off to war and they come home broken and battered. And they will never be the same. They will never be able to find success. They will never be able to achieve the American dream. What a shame that we do this to these young men and women. And then they left. I remember sitting there struggling with this, like thinking about where do I go from here? And I started thinking about the lessons that I had learned. Like, the reality is, guys, you can lead from any situation, including a hospital bed. So often, the power of positivity is one of the most powerful things you have in leadership. And once again, just leading in and not quitting, not driving forward, that is one of the most powerful things you have as a leader. So as I laid in that hospital bed, I'm thinking to myself, is that who I'm going to be? Am I going to be this broken individual? Am I going to be like Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump? You know, beginning of the movie Lieutenant Dan. You know, hookers and booze, Lieutenant Dan. Not, you got no legs, Lieutenant Dan. Not that one. And I told myself, no, man. Like, you know the formula. Like, you're going to lead. You're going to set the example. There are young men and women around you that are going that need you to set that example. Your wife and children need you to set that example. It was that moment my wife came back into the room and I said, you know what, from this point forward, I refuse to feel sorry for myself. I will never look back. We are going to drive forward and I'm going to do everything in my power to lift others up. There will be no more pity in this room, not from me and not from anyone else. And I wrote out this sign. And the sign said, attention to all who enter here. If you're coming in this room with sadness or sorrow, don't bother. The wounds I received, I got in a job that I love, doing it for people that I love, defending the freedom of the country that I deeply. I will make a full recovery. What is full? That is the absolute utmost physically. I have the ability to recover. And I'm going to push that about 20% further to sheer mental tenacity. This room you're about to enter is a room of fun, optimism, and intense rapid regrowth. If you are not prepared for that, go elsewhere. And we signed it. Oh, man, it's... The sign went on to take on a life of its own. It ended up being all over the media. It ended up being featured in blogs. To date, it's been featured in documentaries. I've had millions of people that have reached out. They put it on their door for them or their child that's going through cancer, an accident. Secretary Robert Gates wrote about it in his book. First Lady Michelle Obama was so moved, she wrote about it twice in her book and sent me a handwritten note. I don't tell you all that to say, look at me, I wrote this sign. I tell you that because that is the power of leading through adversity, getting up and driving forward. And the most critical thing you need to understand is the greatest gift you have in this life when things start to go wrong and your ability to lead yourself. You have a choice. No one forces you to lay there. You have a choice. Choose positivity, get up and drive forward. Overcome your broken, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, it doesn't matter. We lead always. Navy SEALs live greatly.
I live greatly.
Do you? It's an interesting question. I meet so many people who are alive, but they long ago stopped living. Remember we talked about at the beginning that 80%? I talked about 98% of people. 18% are like me. We push past the things that broke us and still have the courage to drive forward. But 80% of people long ago gave up on their hopes and dreams. And they may be alive, but they're not really living. I meet these people all over the place. They come up to me and they say, Jay, I wanted to do this, or Jay, I was going to do that. And I said, well, what's stopping you? And they'll come up with a litany of excuses. I want you to do a little drill with me. Take your two fingers and hold them out in front of you. Just like this. Okay? Now bring them back and place them on your neck. And everybody give me a thumbs up when you have a pulse. Hell yeah! Everyone in this room is alive! And if you are alive, it means it's not too late. It's not too late to continue to go off your hopes and dreams. It's not too late to get after it. I will tell you when I do this at the vampire convention, it gets a little weird. It doesn't work, but stop doing it. Guys, there's one guarantee in this life, and that is death. If that is a big shock for you, I'm sorry. But guess what? Every one of us is hurtling rapidly towards death. And we have no idea when that day is coming. I am unique. There are a few of us out there. Maddie Long is one of them. There are some of us who got a second chance at this life, and it gives you so much gratitude to still be here and go after your hopes and dreams. But most of the other people I know, they skip through life thinking, I got all the time in the world, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll procrastinate, I'll get after it. And they forget about embracing life. Guys, if you've ever thought about going after a hope or dream, if you've ever thought about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I want to get my degree, I want to start this business, I want to become a professional speaker, I don't care what it is, today is the day to do it. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. You have to live greatly. How many of you have jumped out of a perfectly good airplane? My people. I want to let you know there's no such thing as perfectly good airplanes, so just enjoy that, okay? How many of you have thought about jumping out of a plane? You've been like, you know what, I'd like to do that someday. And how many of you are like, oh, hell no, I will never jump out of an airplane. What is wrong with you people? Guys, embracing this life and going after your hopes and dreams is a lot like jumping out of an airplane. There's a lot of doubt and fear that gets into your head before you take that step off the ramp. I used to run an event called Jumping for a Purpose, where we would take wounded warriors and families that fallen and we would throw them out of perfectly good airplanes. And people would say, oh my God, why would you do that? Because so often in this life, when we are broken and we've been through trauma, we forget how to live, or we're afraid to live. Because we don't want to be hurt again. We don't want to fail again. And I took these wounded warriors and families to the fall, and we did them to show them that life is not over. You are still alive. But I will tell you, out of the 500 some people we jumped over 7 or 8 years, we would, every single event, we would have at least one person who we would get up to altitude, and they would be in the plane, and the tandem master would say, okay, let's clip in. And they'd look out the back of the plane and they'd go, And we'd be like, are you sure? And they'd say, yes. And we'd be like, all right, no problem. Just go, sit back down, no issues. And we'd jump out and we'd come back to the ground. And it was no big deal. I didn't judge. Hey, everybody lives, they have to make their own decision. I've run into 5 of those people over the last several years in Virginia Beach. And every single person came up to me, to a person, and said, I wish I had jumped. Guys, this life is so short. I don't care what you've ever thought about doing, today is the day. I am fortunate enough to lay there and stare death in the face. I tell you, when that happens, you will think about the life you lived. You will think about the things that you did. Bigger than that, you will think about the things you didn't do. Go after it. I want to know when I get to the end, man, I go screaming into the grave, you know, and I look back and I say, I went after all of it. I went after all of it. Maybe I failed, but at least I know I did it. Unlike most of the timid souls out there, 80%, who allow their broken to dictate their life, and they get to the end and go, what? Here's the deal, guys. Everyone has a story. I've taken my story and my second chance, and I brought it forward to try and help so many people. Every one of you in this room has a story. It is a story that impacts people. It is a story that will make a difference. It is a story that will make people better, and we need that. We need more people out there telling their stories, making an impact. We need more positivity. You may not notice this. There's a lot of negativity in the world today. And it's crazy. It is one of my goals in this life to help people tell their story. It's one of my new missions. Speaking has changed my life, and I now want to mentor and help other people tell their stories. It would be one of the greatest gifts in my life to see one of you standing on this stage next year. How many of you want to be on this stage next year? It would be incredible. You know, there's only a few people that raise their hand. Why is that? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it uncertainty? You got to lean into that. You have a story. I'm telling you right now. How many of you know what is the average price of a professional speaker? Anyone? 10 grand. This is the interactive part where you ask. Yeah, I want you to get off. Maybe if you need to shake it out. And you need to, there are these things called lungs, and from our lungs we project sounds. Those are called our voices. I want you to find your voice. How much do you think? 50,000. That's at the higher end of the game. I would say at your lower level celebrity speaker, their ability to impact from stage and get paid from it is $20,000. $20,000 is the lower level celebrity speaker. It goes up from there, obviously. There are some of your highest end speakers. Former presidents are getting paid like $1 million a speech. Why do I tell you that? I want you to get out there and tell your story. If you run a gym, if you run a business, one of the biggest things you ever can do is make an impact from the stage. Like I said, that is one of my goals, is to try and help people do that. Everyone has a story. I want to help you tell yours. So I have my gun is not working. So it is one of my goals. It is one of my goals to help individuals. You know, Kristen, my money gun is not working. I'm definitely not taking this to the strip club tonight. But the bottom line is this. You have a story. Get out there and make an impact. Pay it forward. Embrace your broken. You overcome. You lead always. You live greatly. It is amazing the impact you will have in this life. Thank you.